This clip is sponsored by Med Travelers. If you're an SLP interested in travel therapy, visit medtravelers.com to get started. What would you say if somebody's thinking about doing travel? Like, how should they decide who they want to work with? And what are some of those, like, really important questions that they should ask to determine if that's the relationship they want to have?
Yeah, it's getting kind of harder to answer that question too, because technology is doing so much for us now. Like, I feel like the role of the recruiter is maybe getting like less and less as like technology job boards are becoming more and more. So I would say if it just sometimes it's just a gut feeling. Like it was like that call I had with that recruiter that was kind of local. It was like, this just feels like we can have a professional relationship. I feel like I can communicate well. So it's like, can you communicate with the person? Are you on the same page? Do you feel like you're having like mutual goals? They're being honest with you about communication. I think referrals from like friends or people in the industry are still really good. Although like I've referred so many people over the years to my recruiters, and I definitely know like what works for one person doesn't work for another. So it's not like just because that person worked for your friend, it's going to work for you. But I mentioned technology and the role of the recruiter getting less and less, because now it's like a recruiter in the past used to have to do all the work for you. Like they had to know, they had to like be inside your mind and think like, Julia wants to go here and she wants this much money. And then tell you that, like physically call you and tell you what jobs are available. Now we have all these job boards that we can look to like and see all the jobs listed and see their pay. And, like your company has one that I use. So it's like we can just tell our recruiter what they want, what we want, and then they can follow up. So it's almost like if you're good using the technology, I also feel like the role of the recruiter is becoming a little smaller and smaller. And, that could be a good or a bad thing. But like, I love the technology. I love, like my recruiter that I use through like AMN now, like I look at the online job board, select what jobs I'm interested in, and then she'll contact me about them. So there's all this great technology that we can use and utilize that makes the role of the recruiter still important, but like a lot more is on us now too.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's more where you have a little bit more control over it.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking too, do you think it's if it is new for someone that's saying, I've never done this, I'm a little bit nervous. Do you think it's important? And you made a great point that just because somebody worked for me doesn't mean they're going to work for everybody I refer. But do you think it's important to even in that initial conversation, maybe that you as the traveler do a little interview with the recruiter to say, how do you communicate? How often, where do you place people? What disciplines do you work with most, to just get an idea if that's going to be a good fit?
Absolutely. And I encourage that everyone should interview a couple recruiters. Try to interview 5, 10 if you can, and maybe get 2 or 3 that you really like. And I always try to tell people, like, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody else. Like, just make sure it's your communication style. Like, some people can be really, really quick. Like, they don't like to talk a lot. And if you like to talk a lot, that might not work. So find what works for you.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion, because you're right to say, this is how often I would love to hear from you. This is how I want to communicate. This is because you're right. If you don't set that up in the beginning, it's easy for those hiccups to happen.